A good evening to you all. I want to welcome you for today's Twitter space, as we shall be discussing the topic mentioned above. Comrade Julius Okoth, I welcome you. Miles Legend, I welcome you. Julius Kalonde Segu, I welcome you. Zastav, I welcome you. Rakijuma Brian, I welcome you. Our today's modulator will be Colin Nsobuga, as will take us through the discussion regarding the unmasking the economic pillars of Uganda's operation, in continuation with the previous topic which we discussed in detail with our speaker, Julius Okoth. I know several of them will be joining us today. I want to welcome you once again, and I will be handing over to Comrade Colin Nsobuga, as will be our moderator today in today's conversation. Hopefully, Comrade Colin Nsobuga, you are set. I welcome you, and I hand over the panel to you to take us through today's session. Comrade Colin Nsobuga, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you so much, the host, for this opportunity. Yes, today we shall be discussing unmasking the economic pillars of Uganda's operation. This topic is it's just a continuation of the series of topics we have heard about non-cooperation, and our speakers for today will be Julius Okoth, and others will join in because he's the only one who is available right now. Yes, we have last time it was broadly the pillars of operation, but now we are going now deep into that. Today we are going to speak, I guess, economics and how it has influenced the kind of society we live in today. Yes, basically today it will be a more engaging one because I believe this is some of these will be the things we have seen, we have experienced, and so on and so forth. Yes, I therefore invite the speaker who has arrived so far, Comrade Julius Okoth. You are welcome to take the floor and introduce yourself and maybe introduce the topic of the day to us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julius Okoth. I'm a Kenyan social justice activist and a trainer on a trainer on nonviolent actions, and especially train grassroots movements. That's where my niche is. Apart from being trainer, I'm also my niche in activism is about tax justice and labor rights. So that's what the labor rights and tax justice, my niche in activism. So I do that a lot of in issue of tax and labor rights. And today's topic is very critical for us because it touches on very critical things that we need to discuss. See, unmasking the economic pillars of Uganda's oppression. You see, there is a term that most of you may know. The 4th century BC, the Chinese military strategist called Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu once said that good strategy is based in 3 sources of knowledge. That is, know your adversary, know yourself, and know the terrain. So as we are starting to unmask the economic pillars of Uganda oppression, we must have 3 sources of knowledge. That is, know your adversary, know yourself, and know the terrain. Because you cannot start unmasking unmasking economic pillars of oppression if we don't know the adversary, and do we know ourselves, and do we know the terrain that we are operating in? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves in today's topic. So if at all we are able to know our terrain, know ourselves, and know the adversary, uh, understand how to unmask the economic pillars of Uganda can become a little bit easier for us. Because unmasking it, we need to understand, we have to put economic, economic has to be on top. If we have done what we call a power analysis, understands that there are some things that holds, because there's some things that hold economic power. So some of those things are just like multinational corporations, other private sectors. Those are the things that those are the pillars that hold economic of any country. Because a state, most of you knows that public sector has died because government no longer offer public services, good public services like health sector, educational sector, water sector, and many. You see, we realize that governments don't offer those services, and if there are those services, the condition of those services are pathetic. If you look at the condition of police stations, they are pathetic. If you look at the conditions of hospitals, are pathetic. Condition of of schools and secondary schools and universities are pathetic. And if you compare them with the private sector, you realize that private sector are prospering very well. So we need to ask ourselves, why do private sector prospering very well in a rogue regime? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. So we realize that those are economic powers that hold the rogue regime. So we need to unmask them. We need to identify them. We need to name and shame them. And we need to boycott them. And we need to do most of things that we need to do. So in today's topic, we need to unmask those, and especially, people might think that government just take taxes, and it takes taxes from private sector. So we need to know which are these private sector that makes this government to survive, because they've been surviving since Museveni took power in 1986. Why are they surviving? Why are they surviving in Uganda in such in such an environment? Those are the things we need to ask ourselves. Are we able today to identify about 6 or 7 corporations that hold Museveni, that makes Museveni to power? Because there are some corporations or companies that are from Museveni himself. There's some companies that are being owned by foreigners. Like the way they do in Kenya here is that when an investor wants to come to a country, there's some there's some certain percentage of a share that needs to I don't know whether it happens in Uganda that a certain percentage of shares supposed to be for the locals. So those are the things that we need to ask ourselves. Who are the directors of these companies? And how much shareholding do they hold in those companies? So when you're unmasking, we need to do social research. We need to know this company, the name of the company, the shareholders, how much shares do they hold, what sort of business do they do, and what are the relations with the regime. I think I've just opened up so that to provoke our mind, because today's topic is about unmasking those companies, because government don't do business, because it's very rare. Government just takes taxes and then come and offer services. So it is companies, multinational corporations that hold that keep a system. Like for example, currently, if you do a social research, you realize that Uganda is divided into blocks for natural for I don't know whether it's gas or oil exploitation. You realize it is divided into blocks. So we need to ask ourselves, which companies have been given those blocks to do oil exploration and exploitation? Those are the questions that you yourself. And how did they get those tender? They get those contracts to get those blocks? Those are the questions. Because if you look at I'm told in area around well, is it near Lake Albert there? I'm told that there's a lot of natural resources that companies are moving there. And in northern Uganda, there's a lot of land grabs. People are being chased away from their land because multinational corporations want to come and exploit the oils that are there. So we need to ask ourselves, which are these companies that have been given contract to exploit and explore natural resources in northwestern Uganda and northern Uganda? Because when there's a lot of people are being chased out of their land, people, being chased out of land does not just come out of the blues. There must be something done, because, and this is the reason why in every country we need to have what we call right to information. People are being chased, they don't know why they're being chased from their ancestral land. They're being chased out of the ancestral land because in that area already it has been divided into blocks where these companies are getting their natural resources. That's the reason why people are being chased from their land. So those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves today. Which blocks have been given to which company? Which company got the contracts? You see, not only about natural resources, even in agriculture, even in manufacturing, those are the questions that you need to ask ourselves, because Museveni's government is not standing in a vacuum. There is some companies that are holding that regime. So those are the things that we need to exploit and explore deeply today. Thank you. Unless there's another question.
Yes, thank you so much, Comrade Julius Okoth. Yes, for that insight into the topic. I believe members have now gotten a lot of questions to ask themselves as we explore more on this topic. Yes, except there was a question I wanted to ask. There is you talked about the multinational companies and being given maybe contracts and so on. So the question is, are also these multinational companies, do they also are they also pillars of the operation, or it's only the national companies that are purely owned by the regime? So if not, maybe you can help explore that to the members here in.
You know, uh, you see, when a state, let's say for example, like Uganda, Museveni, Museveni is not alone. And for example, look at when he's doing elections, the guy put a lot of money to people. He rig election using money. Have you ever asked yourself, where do this guy get money to give people? Yeah, you see, and this money is not coming from his pocket. There's some people are sponsoring Museveni to stand in an election. So they're pouring a lot of money, and this money comes to the people. So you see that it's giving people money everywhere. Dishing out money to people. You need to ask yourself, who's giving Museveni this money to dish out? It's those people who it's multinationals and the national companies that have interest, because if another regimes come, it's also a risk to them. They don't know how kind of a new regime that comes, how to treat them. So they need a friendly regime. So they'll force that regime to be in power. They'll force that regime to be in power so that they continue exploiting, not paying taxes, exploiting workers and such kind of things. So they do their possible, much as possible. This one is both multinational corporations and even the local ones, because there is not only companies of local, even there are some millionaires who also give money. I don't know whether it usually happens in Uganda, but it happens in Kenya that when somebody is doing campaign, there's fundraising. Have you ever heard of fundraising? People fundraising for a certain politician, and going to that hotel to fundraise. You see one plate of food. I don't know whether how many dollars, and we realize that not locals who are going to that fundraising. Have you ever asked who goes to that fundraising? Fundraising for presidential election, fundraising for an MP, who goes to that election, because it's not common person that goes to that fundraising where a plate of food costs about $20,000. Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. And why is it person just want to buy food $20,000? Why? What is the interest? Why is it that this person buying that food at that cost? And they are saying that they are doing a fundraising for a certain candidate. So I think even in Uganda it is happening that there's a time that Museveni is saying that I'm doing fundraising and fundraising for my campaign. And you know, in that campaign, if you go to even an ordinary person cannot even afford to go to that hotel. So who are the people who go to that hotels? You realize maybe there are those rich Indians, companies, multinationals. You see, those are the people who goes to those fundraising. So the question is, we need to ask ourselves, who are the people who goes to those fundraising for a campaign? Because those are the people who want the regime to continue, because if that regime does not continue, they'll also be in a problem. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Comrade Julius Okot, for that insight. Yes, there is another speaker. We shall come back to you. There is another speaker, Comrade Auma Tamali. Yes, you are welcome for today's topic, unmasking the economic pillars of Uganda's operation. Yes, I would like to invite you to maybe give a debrief or an introduction of that topic, and we proceed. You're welcome, Comrade Auma Tamali.
Thank you so much, Collins, and good evening, everyone. Those are my names, Tamali Auma. We've been for quite some times on the economic non-cooperation, and I'm glad now we've gone to the economic pillars of Uganda's operation. I am delighted that I was given the opportunity to once again share with you what I know about the economic pillars of the operation in Uganda. But first of all, I want all of us to think through. Yes, when we talk about pillars, what comes into your mind? To me, in this sense, it's what supports the operation economically. Like I said previously, there are so many forms of pillars that the dictator used, but we zeroed down later on the economic pillars because we realized that it is something that dictatorship has mastered in Uganda, and it is something that it's using to suppress the citizens the more each and every day. Uganda's operation, we have to say that I just talk about Uganda, and I won't go anywhere beyond Uganda. And we're looking at those institutions that supports economically the operation in the Museveni system. We are looking at those companies that strengthens its like its muscles. Let me say its muscles, those companies that strengthens it. So in this, we are looking at the few things that we know about the Museveni government, and what happens. Like the topic is unmasking. We are going to look at straight away the revenue authority of this country. The revenue authority, they call it Uganda Revenue Authority. It is one entity. Yes, it is a government entity, but it is one entity that Museveni has used very well to hold its financial muscles in power. Anytime government is broke, it is the revenue authority that has to come back to us, the taxpayers, levy any tax. Like when they wanted OTT, they came. Now they are taxing our data. It is still revenue authority. They are taxing the Entebbe expressway. It is still revenue authority. Like it is one institution that Museveni has used a lot and continues to use it each and every day to finance, to fundraise for its works of oppression in this country. Because we all know that once a dictator is strong financially, that is where their backbone, that's where their strength lies. Because we can think about maybe weakening its social aspect, we can think about weakening its political aspect, but still, if economically it is strong, it can challenge all this. We have seen Museveni buy votes. Where does he get the money? It's still our taxes that they use to come and suppress us in form of like those elections and all that. It's still the taxes that are collected by the revenue authority. Then something about still on revenue authority, we all know about the employment, the 33%, that tax which annoys me a lot, that 33% that we pay to government, to revenue authority. From our salaries, we pay them each and every month. We know very well that all those taxes don't serve us. They are not used to build our roads. Our roads are built by loans, got from the World Bank, got from the monetary funds. That's where our money comes from. Where does this one that we collect every month go? So let us look at the revenue authority as one of the pillars that Museveni's government has used to finance its works of oppression in this country. Then I don't want to forget to talk about NSSF. Have we ever wondered where money of those ones who are not yet 55 years old go? Have we ever wondered? Sometimes last year, the debate was we should be allowed to access at least 20% of that savings. And what did the bosses of NSSF tell us? The money is not there. And you've been saving, maybe you got a job at 20, you got a job at 25, and now you're 40, and you're asking that they should allow you access just 20% of it. And then the NSSF boss comes and says on national television and says that that money is not there. Even if they say they are going to allow people access it, the money is not there. So where have they put our money? Because even personally, I know that money is not there. Museveni's government is a very hungry government that cannot even afford to just have our money. They cannot afford to have our money. The reason as to why they have put the age cap to access that money so high that even you ask yourself how many people are accessing it, like every day or every month or every year. How many people are accessing it? That's also one of the pillars that supports the revenue authority. It works anyway together with the revenue authority, but I had to point it out independently because it is holding billions and billions of savings of Ugandans, billions that you can't access until you reach 55 years. Personally, I'm left with additional 25 years to access my money. Who knows where I'll be after 25 years from now? And what about what I have saved? Why can't I even access it? It is anyway something that I know most governments have done, like looked into forcing us to saving what is too little in the first place. They're forcing us to save for retirement because they feel that they need to exploit you as a young person so that by the age of 55, what can you do at 55? What investments can you make at 55? That the ages of making investments is when you're in your 30s to 45. But in our system, they will tell you 55. 55, you're tired. You're even tired of thinking. That's the age that someone is supposed to just be relaxing. But this is a government that has subjected us to things like that. So for me, NSSF is also one of the pillars. Like it's the left leg of the Revenue Authority that this government owes too much. Imagine we are funding, it is our money being used to oppress us. It is my money, it is your money, which is being used at the moment. So Revenue Authority and NSSF is some two institutions that have worked so hard to suppress, to support the oppression in this government. Then something that I joined when Julius was talking about was multinational companies. I would also call them corporate businesses. Usually we see when people are going on elections and possibly when elections are done, there is this, I usually point it out whenever congratulatory messages coming from this is congratulating Museveni for winning elections. Something that we should interest ourselves in is they are the ones who fund his campaigns. They give billions of money to support his campaigns because in the end it will get back to them. It will get back to them in form of abnormal profits, in form of like now what are we suffering from? Why are prices of goods very expensive? Though they're even lying to us it's the war in Ukraine, but no, some people are minting money, some people are recovering their money from us, the consumers of these goods that they produce to us. I have asked myself why even locally produced goods are being sold expensively. And still you will find that it is the Mukwanos, it is those companies that support the government that are the ones actually selling these things. They're the ones producing and selling these things to us. So those companies, I may not be able to name them all here, but those companies that we know, especially the ones that are big, like the corporate businesses, the companies, the hotels that we know in this country, they are the ones also that fund or support the works of this government in line with the oppression of the citizens. Because when you see how Museveni's government is strong financially, you just even ask yourself, where do they get this money from when Uganda is choking in debts each and every day? Some people are there giving billions and saying that, you know what, big man, don't worry, this is sorted. And then looking at the foreign investors. Foreign investors, of course, we all understand that they come to serve the interest of the government that we have at the moment. Whatever profits they make, they share with those individuals in government. They don't share with government of Uganda. They share with those individuals, like the NRM government. They share with them, the NRM people. They're the ones who share profits from these companies. So when we look at the kickbacks that these companies give, lately we are talking about Total and the oil pipeline. And then we look at whatever Total is going to make from the oil is bigger than the revenue that again, which government allows Total to bag all those trillions to go with? There is always someone's interest there. So you will realize that these foreign investments are making huge sums of money, not for not for the government of Uganda, which has to go to our social services, but for an individual in the names of Yoweri Museveni. And it is them and the investor. It is him and the investor. The reason we will see them parade children, the reason we will see them, it's because they have their share, individual shares in with such companies, agreements that they have made with these few pillars that I have pointed out that we have to focus on. Which ones are those foreign investments that we have to look at, the ones that we have to fix our eyes on when it comes to economic non-cooperation, a topic that we just left last week, because it is the only way that we are going to weaken these people when we fail to support them. Because once we fail to support them, they'll also not be able to support their master. Which ones are those corporate businesses? I have always disagreed with very many people, especially people who organize events. And you're there taking events to big hotels, you're there going to pay them. Julius has pointed in terms of dollars. Recently, I was just in Kampala, and then I was made to sign some bill in a hotel of about $700 for my accommodation. And then I was like, so this is it. And then the next day, like 2 days later, I see Museveni commissioning that hotel. Just a few days after that organization had paid for all that money, 2 days later, I see Museveni commissioning because it's a new hotel that has just come. And why would they even charge in dollars in the first place? I asked myself, and I was like, okay, so these are the things that where we have gotten to as a country, where even the people who come to make investments in our country don't even honor our currency. They don't value it in any way. You see, so the 3 pillars that I have pointed out, I know that Julius or other colleagues have other pillars that they have seen, but these are the ones that I have tried to point out as the pillars of oppression, the ones that Museveni's government is using to oppress Ugandans. The NSSF, Revenue Authority, multinational and corporate businesses, and foreign investments. So I beg to stop here for now and give time to other people to deliberate.
Yes, thank you so much, Comrade Tamali, for that detailed explanation of our topic of the day. Yes, I see here you brought in a new aspect of the state enterprises, the Uganda Revenue Authority and the NSSF also on board, and you also brought in the issue of the investors. Previously, we had heard from the multinational companies, but now you brought in even the issue of the individual investors, which can literally also be connected to Comrade Okot's point of the billionaires or the rich people in the country. Yes.